Anyways, if you're watching us on YouTube, right, Mike is at MetLife Stadium right now. I'm not even lying. Like, he's sitting in the luxury box. Anthony's kind of wondering how he got in there, so we're just going to leave it as Mike knows a couple people here and there. And what's going on, guys? Welcome into the Giants Brawl podcast. For this episode, I get to be your host. That's the way it's been for the last 23 episodes, I think. Usaid Koshal. Follow me on Twitter at Usaid Koshal. Follow Anthony on Twitter at Anthony_Rivardo. He's probably writing an article while this thing's recording. He's that good at multitasking. So, yeah, check out his work on Empire Sports Media. Mike is in the house as well today. Follow him on Twitter at MikeTrainerMFT. He's in the house, but he's at MetLife Stadium, which is like the house that Eli built. All those garbage Jets quarterbacks that have come and gone through the years, well, this ain't their house. And now Eli's passing the keys to Daniel Jones. But what's going on, guys?
Not much, man. I'm chilling at the stadium. I'm surprised they haven't kicked me out yet. Although I have been kicked out in the past. Let's just say I was too passionate when I got kicked out of the stadium one time.
Not much going on here, man. Just ready to talk some Giants.
Dude, it's like 12. It's like, I swear, dude, it's like 40 degrees and it's freaking raining here in Illinois. And I'm like, yo, this is perfect quarantine weather. Because, like, you're already stuck inside and it sucks, and this just, like, adds to the momentum.
It's beautiful here in New York.
Oh, thanks for fucking rubbing it in, dude. Really.
It's hot as hell down here in Florida.
Yeah. It's Florida, dude. We're, like, the only national Giants podcast. But, yeah, let's get into it, guys. Obviously, it's been a crazy offseason, I think, and looking at it from a lot of different angles, this was an offseason that a lot of Giants fans didn't expect because free agency's out of the way, NFL draft's out of the way. I know we talked a lot with Lance Meadow last week, or Lance did a lot of the talking. We just asked the questions, but it was fun having him on, so go check that episode out. Now we're officially at like the dead period. This is really the actual dead period because there's no football going on. No one's at Giants headquarters at all. I think, Anthony, I'll start with you. Did this Giants offseason, did it surpass your expectations for what you thought it was going to be from the time, Joe Judge was hired to the draft?
Most definitely. It blew my expectations out of the water, mainly just because of the draft. I wasn't too crazy about what they did in free agency. I thought it was good. I like the short-term aspect of it, that they're not tying up their money down the road. But they really just crushed that draft. I mean, I was in love with nearly every pick they made, especially the first 4 picks. I thought they were all home run selections, so I didn't expect that. I've been quite a critic of Dave Gettleman over the past few years, and I have always admitted that he's good. He's good at drafting players, but I didn't think he was going to crush a draft the way that he did this year, and I think Joe Judge had a lot to do with that. And obviously, no one expected Joe Judge to be just such a fan favorite instantly as soon as he was hired. We were all really questionable about it because we didn't know much about him. But I think we've all really fallen in love with him over the past 110 days or whatever it's been since he's been hired. So, I'm in love with what they're doing this offseason, and I finally have some hope that they're heading down the right path.
Yeah, I agree, man. I love Gettleman. Obviously, you guys know that. He had ties with the Giants in the past. Before he went to Carolina. He's been crushing the draft in my eyes. If you look at the long term, not just like one draft. If you look at long term, he got us, our starting running back for the next 10 years. He got us a starting QB for probably the next 15 years. And now this year, he just really embodied the whole offense, took care of that offense, got probably a starting left tackle and a right tackle for the next 10 to 15 years. And, we got guys already inside that could take care of business. So I'm looking forward to them just, running the ball, developing these guys. And, when Dallas had that offensive line where, they ran the ball with Zeke a lot, took the pressure off the defense. That defense wasn't that great. They were just well rested. So they came on the field. They played a couple snaps because they weren't on the field all goddamn time like the Giants' defense has been the past few years. They've been on the field a lot.
Yeah, and I think there's really one thing to look at. And both of you guys kind of mentioned the offensive line. I was really surprised with the investment that they made, especially in the draft, because listen, if there's one positional group right now, because I know we had an episode a couple of weeks ago where it was like, what's the weakest positional group on the roster, and I think we all agreed it was offensive line, and you would need to add to it because you don't want Danny Dimes getting killed the way Eli was getting killed for like the last couple of years. You invest in that. I mean, look, you already had Nick Gates there, which was a solid, solid starter. Zeitler's there, Halipio, obviously, and then you sign Cam Fleming, and then you add Andrew Thomas and the Shane Lemieux kid, and then Matt Parrott as well. They invested a lot into the line this year, and from here on out, the goal is really going to be like developing the talent. And then in terms of like another positional group that I thought really got stronger this offseason was cornerback because we have guys like Valentine's there. You have Sam Beal. Obviously, DeAndre Baker. You look at the investment that they made in Bradbury. And Bradbury, the reason he can't listen, the Giants, they were gonna, and I know this for a fact, the Giants, they wanted Byron Jones. But again, the reason Gettleman settled on Bradbury was because of those ties to Carolina. Because in the second round of the 2016 draft, Gettleman's the one that selected Bradbury when he was with Carolina. So, and then you add on obviously Darnay Holmes, who honestly I went back and I watched his film, and I was like, dude, this is someone that I think like Baker, Holmes, and Bradbury that could develop into a legitimate trio right now for the Giants as soon as 2020. Because Holmes, I think right now is like one of the steals of the draft.
I think Holmes is a day one starter, man. I think he didn't play nickel in college, but they moved him there at the Senior Bowl. He tried it out. He said he loved it, and anybody who like kept up with like draft analysts leading up to the draft, they all heard the complaints that the cornerback selection at the Senior Bowl was really bad. The receivers were dominating them. There was not a lot of good cornerback competition except for Darnay Holmes. He was the one that stood out to everybody, and we ended up snagging him in the fourth round. And he didn't play slot in college, but since he played it so well at the Senior Bowl and wants to play it in the league, he's going to fit in there perfectly day one, I think. And I think that gives us the flexibility to have some three safety sets with Julian Love back there. And, they can even rotate Love into the slot too. That's why I said the first four picks were home runs, and I didn't just stop at the third. I really love the Darnay Holmes pick too.
Yeah, Darnay is definitely a right end. Day one starter without a doubt in my mind, man. That kid can ball. Our secondary is strong. With our two safeties. Like obviously I wanted Simmons, but we got McKinney, man, which really definitely calmed me down a bit. So now I'm excited about that. Left tackle on the second. Our secondary is gonna be pretty strong, man. With both those guys, him and Peppers back there, and then our cornerbacks. And our nickel. Watch out, man. Our secondary is gonna be legit, and they're young. Our team is young. We might have a chance. If we have a good year next year against this real tough schedule, we might actually be a good team for the next 25, 30 years. I mean, I'm just throwing it out.
Well, I think really, dude, the deal is it's like, so the challenge this offseason was getting that young system fitting talent, and they've went ahead and done that. Gettleman, Joe Judge, obviously the offensive line coaches had their input. Patrick Graham had his fair share of guys that he was gonna get, and then you look at it now. The challenge is gonna be, so you have these young guys. Who can you develop that's already on the roster and that's already new here? Who are you going to be able to develop? And that's one of the big things to like watch for and listen to in these virtual meetings whenever they get back out onto the field for like training camp and whatnot. It's just there's right now, man, the roster is in a much better place in 2020 as it's been compared to like I don't even know how far back to go, dude. Because like I haven't seen a roster like for the Giants at least this like intact since probably, dude, the second Super Bowl run in 2012. I want to say like that's how long it's been.
Been a while, man. Plus, we got like no joke about like 30 linebackers in this group. I mean, so we can't complain. Somebody got to be good out of this group. We might have 5, 6 guys that might be top notch. Who knows?
Man, well, dude, the way, and I'm glad you brought the linebackers up because the way they addressed the linebackers this offseason, I know everyone was like pounding the table for Simmons. They went ahead and just got the two guys that Patrick Graham was similar with, in Blake Martinez and Kyler Fackrell, who I know Lance mentioned this on last week's episode. Fackrell had, dude, he's an outside linebacker, but he had a career year under Patrick Graham in 2018. So the point is these were never like big name splash signings by any means, but they were the right signings.
I agree. I like Fackrell a lot. I'm not the biggest fan of Martinez, but Fackrell I thought was an excellent signing. And I like what they did drafting all those linebackers at the end because they were, first of all, going best player available on their board. And second of all, they got all these linebackers. Like Mike said, one of them's got to be good, but also they're all going to be solid contributors on special teams. And we know that Joe Judge, being a former special teams coordinator, is putting a heavy emphasis on that aspect of the game. And I think our special teams unit has no reason not to be top 5 in the league this year.
Wow. Well, yeah, I didn't even really think about much of special teams, but yeah, let's hope for that.
Well, yeah, the reason he's putting such an emphasis on special teams is one, not because like it's his background, but also because like, can we be real about something? Like, good special teams play is such an underrated aspect of just the entire like football team in general. I mean, we've seen guys do. We've seen teams who have like bad kickers, like the Chicago Bears, for example, who cost them a playoff game. And then, like, obviously, the one Cowboys lost all those years ago with the laces, and then the dude wasn't able to kick it, and then the Cowboys lost to the Giants in the divisional round after being like the number 1 seed or something. Like, good special teams play, my point is just like makes a difference, can be a difference between you winning and losing a game. I mean, a good punter, dude, like the Giants got Riley Dixon right now. A good punter, dude, is the friggin' difference in field position. So special teams, man, everyone like, is all like, oh, offense, defense, blah, blah, blah. Like, yeah, that's true. Special teams, though, plays a much bigger role than most things. And Anthony, I think you're right. Like, this could very well be one of the best units in the NFL in 2020.
Definitely, but I gotta say, you mentioned that Bears kicker. He went to my high school, Cody Parkey. So don't
Fuck that
disrespect my
guy,
man.
dude. Don't, no, I hate, listen, as Giants fans, you
The
guys
Jupiter
do hate,
Warrior.
It was
yeah, as,
the ball was tipped at the line.
yeah,
You gotta
It was. It was blocked. It was
bro,
blocked.
don't. Yeah, you guys as Giants, well, we should all hate Cody Parkey anyway, because he's the reason that the Eagles ended up advancing to the NFC divisional game against the Saints.
yeah, I
Yeah,
hate
but it was blocked, and man, I gotta say, when I went to school that very next day, we were all so disappointed in like our hero. Like, you were the one who made it from our high school to the NFL, and you completely failed us. It was such a sad day.
you like
It was.
yearbook picture out and like burn it like on the plate.
Nah,
I mean,
the
no,
dude who
Those
my
special teams are legit though, man. I remember Devin Hester running back like kicks like left and right. I tell you, man, you guys mentioned special teams. Watch out for Darnay to return like kicks. That dude is fucking lightning fast,
Oh,
man.
dude, Hester returned a kick, right? I think, yeah, he returned one like punt return or something, or it was like a field goal return for a touchdown against the Giants one year on Sunday Night Football, dude.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying, right? Is it's like people don't the value of good special teams in the NFL, like fans just don't see it anymore. Because like it's so hard to find a good special teams coordinator. Like another dude, Cordero Patterson, who was with Joe Judge in New England. Like Patterson's with the Bears right now, dude. The dude's got track level speed, and by the time he's on the 50-yard lines, is like burning everyone. But the point is, it's like, yo, special teams. I legitimately think as like the offense learns a new system, as the defense learns a new system, like special teams is the one thing that I think like has a chance to really be a strong suit for this team in 2020.
You make a name for yourself, man. The Giants would have never got to the second Super Bowl. It wasn't, playing in San Fran and we're stripping that ball and going in and kicking that field goal, to go on. So, yeah, you're right, man. Special teams is huge. Huge, man.
most definitely.
Yeah, dude, and obviously moving on from the offseason review, like you look at it, dude. There's still, I mean, I tweeted this today, and this is from Spot Track too. The Giants apparently have like 17 million cap space. Obviously, that's gonna be like 8 or 9 million, I think, after they signed the rookie class, because Andrew Thomas, he's gonna take up a good portion of that money, and then McKinney being a second round pick. If you're not familiar, the way these contracts work in the draft is you have guys essentially on 4-year deals. If you're a first round pick, you have a 5th-year option. At the end of year like 3, they either pick up the option or decline it. If they decline it, you are a free agent after year 4. If they pick it up, you're with the team for 5 years. Now, anyone from the second round onwards is just like they're on 4-year deals, dude. So I think right now, if there's one free agency that I would want this team to sign, it would actually be Logan Ryan, who was released from the Titans earlier today on Tuesday, May 5th. And I know a lot of people are going to be like, well, why the hell would you bring this guy in? Because you have Holmes, you have Baker, you have a good defensive back group. But there's two advantages with bringing Logan Ryan in. Number one, it's never too much competition. Number two, you can never have too much competition. Let's agree on that. Number two, the deal with him, right, is he knows Patrick Graham and Joe Judge. So you would kind of have like a veteran in the locker room that knows the Patriot way. So he would be like another assistant coach, basically.
Why was he released?
I don't know. He just announced it. He just announced he's not coming back, dude. So like, I don't know what it was. I mean, I saw the headline. I was like, screw it. I'm not gonna read too much into it. But he's out there. I think like if there's any free agent the Giants are gonna sign to like round out the 90-man roster, it would be this guy.
I guess that makes sense, but honestly, me personally, I don't think they should spend any more of their money. I think they should just hold on to it, let it roll over. They, like you said, they got to sign those rookies, and I just don't think that there's anybody they're going to sign that's going to really make that much of an impact and much of a difference. And we are a rebuilding team anyway, so I almost feel like just let these young guys develop. Don't put anybody who's going to take away from their snaps. Just let them go out there and play. Like Logan Ryan, yeah, he's a solid player and he might make an impact, but then you're going to be taking away snaps from either Darnay Holmes or DeAndre Baker or somebody else. And I get the competition thing, but like I want the competition with the guys that are already on this roster. I want to see them progress. I don't necessarily need to see someone else come in and make an impact because I don't see us as a win now team right now. I still think that we're a year or two away from being a real competitive football team. So I would just save the money, let it roll over into next year.
Yeah, I mean, I still think we're gonna go 16-0, but I wanted to see the guys get better every week. So, like, if we win week 1 by 3 points, I want us to win week 2 by 6 points, and then week 3 by 10 points, and then by the time week 16 comes along, we're up by fucking 40 points in the game. But you're right, Ed. I want to see these guys like develop, man. I want to see them get better, man. I want to see them progress. So, like, but on the other hand, if they had the money, which they could probably get the money. Maybe Clowney, man. I wouldn't mind seeing a big name on the edge rushing the passer. You know what I mean? I would like to see that, man. I want to see. I want to see the defense have a little help.
Well, yeah, Clowney's interesting because I heard this tidbit last fall when he was with Houston. Well, like last August, basically, when he was with Houston before he got traded to Seattle, I heard like he wants to be paid like Khalil Mack and Aaron Donald. Now those guys make like Khalil Mack, dude. I think his cap hit in 2020 is like 23.5 million or 26 million. There's no freaking way I'm paying There's no way, dude. Anyone's paying Clowney that much money
No.
because like he just is a tier. He's like a tier below Khalil Mack, J.J. Watt, Von Miller, Aaron Donald. And then you look at it, you're like, okay, so what was he gonna get in free agency? And it was probably 17 to 18 million. And we're sitting here in basically May, so about next week's gonna mark like 2 months after free agency. And so now you look, you're like, yo, 2 months after free agency was open, this dude's still on the market. This means his, I think, price is gonna be like 14 million a year. And there's no, I think like it's that dude, number one, just his asking price, which I could see being like 13, 14 a year. And then number two, just the fact that like he's been so injured, there's no way for like anyone to like get a physical done on him. And teams, they're not gonna be like, oh, like Judavian, we'll get you a physical later. Just come sign with us now or go to another team. No, teams are gonna want their doctors and their staff to like conduct the physical.
I think what's best for Clowney is that he signs another 1 year deal somewhere and just proves himself again. And I know that's not what he wants. He wants that long term deal, but he's got to be aware that like his price on the market is dropping significantly. Like you mentioned, he wanted that Khalil Mack money. Now they're saying he might get 13 million, which is half of that. So I think he should just find a place, a contender again, go on a 1 year deal and prove himself. And I don't think that's going to be with the Giants because, like I said, I think we're rebuilding. I would love to have one of those big, big name star pass rushers, but I just don't think that we're set up financially to afford it. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that we've got 60 million or 70 million, tied up with Leonard Williams. But that's a whole nother discussion.
My God, that's
I
my
don't
God.
think we want to get into that one again.
Yeah,
So, yeah, I mean, like I said, I wish we could afford Clowney. I just don't think that it's a real possibility at this point.
I'll say this though, like Clowney, I feel like is the bullet that the Giants dodged this offseason. Because I know we talked about this when we were previewing free agency, and this is the thing, guys. Is it's like every single thing we say ends up happening anyway. So Dave Gettleman's listening to this podcast, right? Yo, did you just see Anthony's face, dude?
Well, we said for a while that a certain player was going to go number 4 overall, and that didn't happen. So.
Yeah, but we also said that if they don't go with Simmons, then they would still get an impact player because of one of the big 4 offensive tackles, and that's exactly what happened. See, we prepared for every single scenario. Okay, but the point is, dude, is we talked about this back in like January or whenever we were talking about free agency, just in terms of knowing that like, hey, if there was one player that the Giants and Dave Gettleman were going to throw all their money at, and it would have been the most Dave Gettleman thing ever to do, it would have been Jadeveon Clowney. And I'm glad that this team dodged that bullet because there's no way I would have wanted him like here for 5+ years, right? Or like whatever, a 4 or 5 year deal. And then eventually him like having to and then you in like 3 years having to pay Daniel Jones and you're just strapped to that Jadeveon Clowney contract. So it's a smart move, dude. If there's one move this team was not supposed to make and they didn't make, it was Jadeveon Clowney in free agency. But now obviously things are different. I think if he market falls again, he's still on the market come first week of June. And you have the money, go make a run at him. I'm serious. Even if it's for 1 year.
Maybe it's that Joe Judge influence in the room to, maybe let's not go after Clowney for that long-term deal. That could be it. But listen, we did good. We got a great left tackle. A lot of people were saying we're going to go, tackle in the draft. One of my good friends said it. He wanted to be known as the football genius on this podcast. He said we were going to go after a tackle. They did. He picked Wills, by the way, which I didn't like Wills. So at least he got the position right. But maybe it was the Joe Judge influence in that room to go in like these directions, man. Who knows, man? Who knows? But whatever, we're getting there. We're building a nice, solid team, and I like it.
Yeah, and another thing on the pass rush, I think a lot of people aren't realizing that it's going to come from the scheme in a major way. Like Patrick Graham loves to blitz. I think he blitzed on like 50% of plays last year, and he loves to run a lot of cover zero, just a lot of man coverage across the board and send some extra blitzers. So you're going to see Xavier McKinney blitz a lot. You're going to see Jabril Peppers get in there a lot. Fackrell, of course. Blake Martinez. The blitzes are going to come a lot, and it's going to come from really interesting spots. It's not really necessarily going to be all predicated on our edge rushers. So that's something that I'm really excited for, and I think could really make us a somewhat competitive team defensively. I think that's really an underrated talking point at this point in the offseason.
You're absolutely right. I love when a team blitz like that, coming from all different directions. You don't know where it's coming. Could come up from the middle, off the edge. Yeah, that's a great point. I'm really looking forward to his defense, man. I'm excited about that.
Well, and he talked about like, and former players have always talked about like using different looks each week, right? So in terms of just like, it could be what's gonna be like a 3-4 1 week, depending on who's playing, is gonna be a 4-3 next week. Now, I will say the issue with that is that for some of these younger players, I know vets have talked about it being such a simple scheme. Some of these younger players, they are going to be kind of a bit confused at first because like there are differences in the 4-3 and the 3-4, etc. So it's going to be a fun one to watch. But like when I look at the rest of the NFC East, right? I mean, Eagles, let's be real, they pretty much just went after speed. They made a stupid pick with Jalen Hurts at 53. But you know how it goes, dude. Quarterbacks are always going to be overdrafted. Cowboys low-key got the steal of the draft in CeeDee Lamb. As much as I don't like the Cowboys, I'll admit, like, CD at 17 is freaking scary. And then obviously the Redskins, you knew that the highlight of their draft class was going to be Jadeveon 2.0, which is Chase Young, ironically.
We got a guy to block him. We got a guy that can pancake him on every single play.
Yeah.
We're good. Fuck the Cowboys. Fuck them too.
I'll say, though, with the Cowboys draft pick, that was a luxury pick. And somebody pointed this out to me that was only made possible because of the way that they invested in their offensive and defensive line over the years. it gave them the luxury of being able to select a wide receiver at 17, even though they already had a great wide receiving duo with Amari Cooper and Michael Gallup. And that's something that we can look down the road could happen to us now because we have our defensive line set. We've got our offensive line invested in now. So eventually, hopefully next year when Jamar Chase is there, we can get that receiver. And that's what I'm like begging for because, I was one of those guys that's like, I wouldn't hate it if they took one of those receivers at the top. I just don't think it's the smartest move. But it was a luxury pick for them, and it's just because of the way that they constructed their team over the years. And Jason Garrett had a big part to play in that, and now he's on our team, of course. So soon enough, we're going to be able to make some of those luxury picks and steal some players in the draft, and I'm really excited for it.
Well, the only way they're making those luxury picks though is if like, because you have to remember, dude, that Dallas team, like, they had a lot of talent pan out, and like, let's be real, the last couple years, the Giants really like this is pre-Gettleman. Obviously, the Giants were never the smartest at drafting, so the only way you're making some of those luxury picks is if the talent that you Gettleman's drafted like actually pans out. Because the last thing that you want, and this is gonna be something they're gonna have to look at over the next couple of years too, is it's like there is gonna have to be you're gonna have to let certain players walk and figure out how to replace certain draft picks walk, replace those guys with better talent, and then you can afford to make those luxury picks. So there's the Cowboys. Yeah, they got a steal at 17 with CD, but they really like you know they've drafted well the last couple years, and they've figured out ways to like build their roster with like guys that they don't resign, restock those positions too. But yeah, I agree, dude. I think there can be some luxury picks, and Jamar Chase would be one name to keep an eye on. And speaking of the wide receivers, I'm surprised the Giants didn't take one, which to me just shows like, all right, they're relying on like the current core that they have to be healthy.
Yeah, but they're also relying on some of these guys they draft undrafted free agents. After the draft that they signed, because we got a couple guys from Ohio State that can ball. They could straight out ball, and I'm expecting one of these guys to break through and be our fourth receiver.
Yeah, they did find Victor and Mac, I believe the other one's name is. They're both pretty solid. One of them can fly. I think Mac is the really fast one, and Victor is obviously the really big-bodied one. And that intrigues me a lot because we don't have one of those big body receivers on the roster, and that was yeah, that's something that we were discussing a lot heading into the draft. Maybe they can look for this guy or that guy to be that big body, and they didn't find it. But one thing that people didn't really talk about, they're like, it's such a deep draft class. You can get starters in like the fifth round. Well, you can get solid number 4 receivers undrafted in this class, and I think the Giants probably did that with at least one of those guys, and so that's really exciting. I definitely think that I'm rooting for Victor just because I want them to have that big body receiver. I liked him a lot when I watched all that Trashkins tape last year in preparation for the draft. Victor was somebody that really popped off the tape. Him and McLaurin, but obviously
He
McLaurin
caught
was.
joke. He caught all the shitty passes. It was
Yeah,
if he could catch balls from shitty Haskins, he could catch a lot of dimes from Danny. Let me tell you, man.
exactly.
I'm telling you
Exactly.
guys right
Victor's gonna
now,
be nice.
Haskins is legitimately, and this just isn't us ragging on him. Like I saw a report saying that he's on like a super short leash, which makes sense because like there is no way that this dude is gonna mesh with like Ron Rivera's, army style like personality and whatnot, right? But like, the thing is, dude, is I swear Haskins on a short leash. So, but anyway, this is a Giants podcast, not a Redskins one. We're not a poverty franchise like the
Facts.
Redskins are, guys. But like it, and then obviously I think like that's about it, dude. Like the NFC East, everyone's like the only really good pick that was non-Giants was like CD Jalen Rager to the Eagles was interesting, but you kind of knew they were going to target receivers and cornerbacks because they had no receivers last year. So really, this was a decent draft for the NFC East in general.
Yeah,
It
everybody
was.
well.
Yeah, they all did, but I think we did the best. And the Rieger one, I'll quickly discuss that. I thought Justin Jefferson was like the pick that made so much sense for them there. I was really surprised that they didn't go with him and they went with Rieger, but I think they're both talented. It's just Rieger is the more boom or bust of the two, and I'm happy that the Eagles went with the more boom or bust of the two because now I'm hoping that he ends up being the bust. So
Yeah, the Eagles went with like a whole bunch of wide receivers, like we went with linebackers. So I mean,
Yeah.
we'll see what happens with them. They won't
Well,
have
they
Yeah,
also
they won't
and
have anybody throwing the ball to them because
right.
Mr. Glass gets hurt all the time. And then Nick Foles went to the Bears. He's their starter for the next like 3 years because Trubisky's he's done, man. They didn't re up his 5th year. Like
you know what's gonna happen with Trubisky, dude, is he's gonna be like Drew Brees 2.0. Okay, he's gonna like suck on one team and then go to another team and then somehow figure it out. Or even Alex Smith
nope,
did.
not gonna
Oh,
happen.
shut up, Anthony.
But 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 you did mention Mr. Glass, and then they did go in the second round with Jalen Hurts. It was a big surprise pick. That was weird. I don't know what to make of it. I feel like he's going to see the field at some point this year just because of Carson Wentz. He gets injured a lot, but I don't know. I almost feel like it was ballsy, but I don't think they were the team that should have done it.
Well, they mentioned like Howie Roseman mentioned something about like, well, we want to be a quarterback factory, and I think they signed the dude from Arizona or Arizona State as well, Khalil Tate. Yeah, they signed Khalil Tate, right? But the point is the fact that like Jalen Hurts, right? For those of our listeners that don't watch college football, Lincoln Riley made Jalen Hurts. Let's be honest about that. And that scheme that he ran, like with Baker and Kyler, and again, I'm not fully sold on Baker or Kyler just because it's hard to like truly be sold on a guy after like year one, especially in a scheme where like the quarterback or the scheme made the quarterback look so good. Like to be real, man, Jalen's the worst of those three Oklahoma guys that have come of the three Oklahoma guys that have come out. And he honestly needs like he's not where he should be. He should have been a day three player, number one. And number two, people are like, well, he's gonna be like a triple option threat. Like, no, he's not. They're gonna have like a package of plays for him. And he's in no way Taysom Hill 2.0, so we can throw that narrative out the window too. So like we're not gonna have to worry about him like blowing past Blake Martinez, who's Anthony's favorite linebacker.
yeah, he's not going to do shit in Philly. Guys
Yeah,
will
probably not. I think he's going to get his opportunity though. Like I said, just because Carson Wentz will probably get injured at some point. And I'm not wishing injury on the guy, so I don't want anybody to come after me and say that because I know we do have a couple people on Twitter who like to criticize the things that we say. So I'm not wishing any injuries. I'm just saying there's a likelihood that Jalen Hurts sees the field. And I'm going to be interested to see how he plays because you know it could potentially create a quarterback controversy. So
Yeah,
if
which
he really
is
if he lives up to his
love,
potential.
we love quarterback controversies. Let's get one in
Yeah.
Dallas with Andy Dalton. Let's
Yes.
let's get one in Philly, and something's going to happen in Washington. So like, let them all have quarterback controversies, and we're good.
oh
Something is
yes.
going to happen in Washington, without a doubt.
Oh God,
Speaking of which, did you guys see the Giants signed what is it, Cooper Rush, right? Like
yeah,
literally 2 hours before we got on here. And this is the thing, so I tweeted this out like yesterday from our social media account. You can follow us on Twitter at Giants Brawl. We're on Facebook by the same name. Instagram we're Giants Brawl too. But the point is, right, is I saw Cody Kessler was a free agent, and I already expressed my discontent with Alex clipboard Tanny because he's just gonna run the scout team in the practice squad. Colt McCoy is garbage. He's been injured the last couple of years. Don't expect much out of Colt McCoy. I will say this though, bringing Colt McCoy was good because now he's gonna have intel about Dwayne Haskins. So we're gonna sweep the Redskins, right? But the thing is, I suggested Cody Kessler, so I'm like, oh, he knows the New England ways. He knows Joe Judge. They went with Cooper Rush, who again knows Garrett and Colombo. So another guy they brought in with familiarity. That's just a move, and I'll let you guys address it too. Pretty much, you're just going with someone that's familiar and can help Danny Jones learn this offense.
Low key, I really like the Cooper Rush move. I kind of like the kid. I think he's a little bit talented. I used to talk a lot with this one friend of mine who's a Cowboys fan, and he like loved Cooper Rush for some reason. And I know Des Bryant has come out and like big support for Cooper Rush in the past too. So I think that was like a really nice under the radar move. He could be a solid backup for our team. And I also want to mention the Alex Tanney thing because I know a lot of fans are like, "Can we finally cut Alex Tanney? Can we cut Alex Tanney now?" It's like I don't know if the reports like flew over everybody's head, but Daniel Jones like loves Alex Tanney and loves having him there holding the clipboard. So if Daniel Jones is happy, I'm happy. If that's what he wants, if he wants Alex Tanney to hold the clipboard and run the scout team, then I want Alex Tanney to run the clipboard and or hold the clipboard and run the scout team. So I get the why people want to get rid of Tanny because he's not really going to step in and do anything if Jones gets hurt. But if Jones gets hurt, our season's over regardless. Tanny, Rush, whoever goes in, nobody's gonna step up and do it. We don't have that luxury of having a great backup quarterback. So you might as well just let Tanny sit there and continue to mentor Daniel Jones because Daniel Jones was very fond of having Tanny as his mentor, of course with Eli Manning, but now Eli is of course not there. So I'm all for keeping Tanny around at this point.
Yeah, I think Colt McCoy, man, I could see him getting cut. To be honest,
Yeah.
I don't know about the other guys, like maybe going to the practice squad, maybe Rush has that option. I'm not exactly too sure on that now. I haven't read up on him that much, but yeah, Tanny, he's sticking around. Even the Giant fans don't like him or not, he's staying.
Yeah, like I honestly, I'm split on him because I know, like, yeah, he does bring some value because, like, that's what you do with the practice squad and scout team is you pretty much just like run the looks that the opposing team's going to give you, and the dude holding the clipboard is the one that's in charge of all those guys on the practice squad. So like you're pretty much like a second coach at this point. I know like Danny Jones likes him, but again, I still think that if there are like certain players out there, like another quarterback that could be an upgrade from Tanny, you gotta like bring him in because again, at the end of the day, you gotta do what's best for the entire team and not just like one player, you know. But I understand why they're keeping Tanny around.
Yeah, I mean, even Eli loved him. A lot of people love him in that building, and that says something. So the guy's sticking around. He must be hilarious or something in like the meetings. I really love this guy.
Anyway, so moving on, guys. We know we're recording this on a Tuesday. Schedule release is like 48 hours from now, right? Anthony, why are you breathing so goddamn heavily?
I don't know. It's a little stuffy in my room. Sorry. You want me to turn my gain down?
No,
It's all right.
you good, dude. You good. Hey, okay.
Yeah,
So anyway,
running on a treadmill during this early podcast.
I did work out earlier, so I'm trying to get back in the swing of things since quarantine. Where I'm in phase 1 here in Florida, so
well, I don't even know what phase I'm in Chicago, and it just like it fucking sucks, dude. Because I'm like, yo, I don't want to be trapped inside. You know what I'm gonna do after this? After we get off this podcast, I'm gonna drive to Portillo's, which is like the greatest restaurant to eat in the Chicagoland area, and I'm gonna get cheese fries and Italian beef. That is what I'm gonna do.
No deep dish pizza,
Dude. Deep dish is good. Deep dish is good, but like again, I've eaten deep dish so much. Have you ever had deep dish?
Nah, I never been to Chicago to have deep dish.
All right, you got to come to bro. The Giants are coming here for a game next season. We'll get into the schedule in just a moment. You guys got to come, but yeah, deep dish is good, dude. But like sometimes it gets kind of old, so like naturally I go to Portillo's, which is equivalent to like New York's halal guys.
Oh, dude, I mean, you got to get like the thin slice pizza, man. You go down to New York City.
I had the thin slice pizza.
In the Bronx. Oh my god, it's so good. I can sit there and eat a pie by myself.
Dude, when I was on the East Coast in February, I was in Clifton, New Jersey, right, for some work, and there was a pizza place like where I was at, right, because it was a business trip. There's a pizza place right down the street, and I'm like, holy crap, like this place has been there forever, so that's when you know it's like good, right? But like the thing is this pizza was so thin, and making the transition from like deep dish to like that thin ass pizza, I was like, oh my god, like I need to order another pie or something because this is not gonna fill me up.
Well, now you guys are making me jealous because I'm sitting here living in Florida with basically cardboard for pizza in most places. I miss my New York pizza. When I used to live on Long Island, there's this place La Familia, and yeah, I miss it. I just miss New York pizza anywhere, man. It's just all significantly better. There's like a couple spots down here in Florida. Like there's one close to my house that's owned by a guy from Brooklyn, so it's like the best in the area, and he makes a pretty good slice. But and
Is
then
he a
I like
Giants
it.
fan?
I don't know actually, because usually my mom orders the pizza. I don't. I picked it up like once or twice, but that's about it. But there's also Anthony's Coal Fired, but I know they also have that in New York now. But I think Dan Marino owns a piece of that, and that place is really really good. That's because that's like the closest you can get to like a New York pizza is Anthony's Coal Fired, and yeah, I love that place. But other than that, it's really slim pickings. I know I've got friends who say that their favorite pizza is like Papa John's or Domino's, and
That's garbage, dude.
they've never actually had pizza before. They've just had like fast food pizza. I'm like, I pity you. This is so sad.
You know what? You know what Papa John's and Domino's is? It's basically like it's just the cardboard, and they just throw sauce on it, and then you fucking
Yeah.
eat shit. It's fucking disgusting. I feel bad for you, Ant, man. You gotta get like delivery from New York, man. I don't know how much it would cost to like overnight it, but you need something.
I know, right? I really wish, man. I was hoping I could go back up this summer, but that's not going to happen now. So hopefully, later in the year or next year, I can get my New York slice.
You
Next
know
week,
what though?
yeah.
There's a pizza place here in Chicago. We got a couple, right? So there's Giordano's and there's Lou Malnati's. Now Lou Malnati's sells like frozen stuffed crust pizzas that you can bake in the oven. So I'm gonna have to figure out if one of those is open, and then I'll ship both of you guys some, okay?
I
Hell
like
yeah.
I like the
Yeah,
sound.
that sounds good.
And then
Yeah.
yo, just
Get it here by next Tuesday, okay? So I can fucking eat it up there.
I'll see, dude. I'll see, bro. I'll see, man.
That'd be
But
awesome.
anyways, so that's our little pizza rant, guys. It's the off season, so we're gonna be talking about a lot of random things. Like our friends on the Bears Brawl, one episode last summer ranted about McDonald's. So stay tuned for all the random stuff we're gonna be talking about. But anyway, we're still gonna be here now. Getting into it, guys, because we're at the 41-minute mark. You have the schedule coming up in schedule release is releasing Thursday night.
Thursday.
So we've known since like January who are the Giants going to be playing. Now we're going to know when we're going to play them, but we're going to kind of break down the opponents because a lot changes. Like if I were to look at this schedule back in January or like the teams that the Giants are playing, I would have been like, oh, this if this team has the offseason that we wanted to have, they could easily win like 7 or 8 games next year. I still think that's a really realistic target given everything that we've seen. But the schedule, I'll admit, has gotten much tougher, and I think there's like 10 potential playoff teams on there. What do you guys think?
It's going to be tough. It's definitely going to be tough. We got the Bucks, the Ravens. I mean, that whole AFC North is pretty solid. The Steelers, the Bengals now have Joe Burrow. They could be like one of those wild card teams that just starts to play good. Since they did a lot this offseason. I don't see it, but they could give us more trouble than anticipated. And of course, we've got the Browns. So we're going to have to host Odell. That's going to be probably a primetime game. It's going to be really hyped up for no reason. Bleacher Report is going to post 1,000 Odell Beckham highlights leading up to that game, and it's going to drive me insane. But they're also one of those teams that could be playoff potential. And, you know, our division got stronger. It did. We're going to have to go against Chase Young. The Eagles are the Eagles. The Cowboys are the Cowboys. And it's going to be tough. I think you said we got the Bears, another playoff potential team, if they can figure out their quarterback situation.
I
But they
guarantee
do have
you,
a
dude,
solid
they will
defense.
have. Dude, the defense for the Bears got better, and I guarantee you right now they will like figure the quarterback position out. Because I'll say this much about the Bears brass is every single time they're like, we have to figure out. My brother's giving me an L, dude, because he's like, nah, they suck because he's a Packers fan. But the thing is, dude, is every time the Bears say like, yo, we're gonna figure this position out, you know, they end up like figuring it out. So I'm confident in this Foles one, dude. But like overall, I mean, looking at this Giants schedule, you mentioned a lot of the tough games, like so the Cleveland one, dude, I'm not even gonna put too much stock into because, like, let's be real about something. The Browns did the same thing this season, or this offseason they did last offseason, which was invest heavily. They drafted Wills, invested Conklin and Austin Hooper too, and they sucked, right? And plus Kevin Stefanski's there. And the last time we saw Stefanski coach a game, he got punched in the mouth by the San Francisco 49ers. So like I'm not confident. You know, I really don't care about the Cleveland game too much. I'm looking at like, okay, Arizona I think's beatable. San Francisco I'm skeptical on because the team that makes it to the Super Bowl sucks the next year. Pittsburgh, you don't know how Big Ben's gonna hold up because he hasn't played football since like October. Tampa Bay is going to be a tough one because of Tom Brady. Washington, Dallas, Philly, I'm not like overly concerned about. On the road, though, the only teams that I think are really threats would be Baltimore, Los Angeles, Seattle, and Chicago. Because like I could seriously see any of those 4 making the playoffs. And the scary thing is that the games against Seattle, Chicago, and LA, like let's just say this team is in the playoffs, right? Let's just say the Giants are in the playoffs or the playoff race. Like those 3 could be fighting for the same seed that the Giants are if we're being real.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of agree with you guys. I mean, the Rams in Seattle. The West Coast. You got to go to the West Coast. That's always a problem. You mentioned Cleveland Browns. Of course, Cleveland. We play them at home because everybody wants to hold Odell coming back to Giants Stadium. But to be real, with the schedule, everybody says, "Oh, this team's gonna have a tough schedule. This team's gonna have a tough schedule." But in football, the reason why they say it's every given Sunday because it really is. Because when you try to bet on these games and you have a lock, coming in this week, and then all of a sudden, oh, an upset happens. An upset. You know how many upsets happen during a football season? There's not a definite win anymore. It's just the way it is. It's the way football is now. With all these, rules and shit. So I wouldn't put so much, I wouldn't dwell on so much like with the Giants having a really, really tough schedule. Let's just see how it plays out. Injuries happen to other teams, so maybe we get lucky too with a couple guys. Who knows? Who knows? That's why you play the game. Herm Edwards, you play to win the game.
Dude, it's tough on like on paper, it's tough, and I think the same thing can be said for the draft class. Like, on paper, these things look tough or they look good, whatever, etc. But like, it really matters about like what are you gonna do out on the field. And I think like you're right, Mike. I mean, let's just say like Zeke goes down for Dallas. Then what are you gonna do? You're gonna have Dak throw the ball 40 times a game, which we know like is not plausible. Um, let's just say like Wentz goes down, then all of a sudden the Eagles are doing what they've done the last like 2 years. Basically, is just like crawl to the finish line to get to the playoffs. Basically,
Well, I just think we we aren't the best team. We're coming off of a 4-12 season, and we really got shafted by the schedule because there's just a lot of up and coming teams and a lot of proven teams. Like we are just, I just the schedule is really tough. I think no matter how many like any given Sundays you have, like any upset wins, like there will be a couple, and all of that. But I just think overall it's a tough schedule. I think our division is strong, but I think everyone we're playing outside of the division has a chance of making the playoffs, and that's like really unlucky. I think that's why fans should probably temper their expectations. If we win 5 games, if we only win 5 games, it's different than the 4 games that we won this year. We had a lot of winnable games this last year, like the Bills in Week 3, and we blew that, or that was Week 2. Um, we had some others. I can't remember them all right now, but like there was a lot more winnable games on last season's schedule than there is going to be on this season's schedule. So if we don't really improve the win total, but we show improvement in those games, that's what I'm looking for. And I think that's something that fans like need to realize. Like it's going to be a tough year probably, but it's wins losses is not the end all be all.
It'd be a good learning experience for these young guys for sure.
Mm-hmm.
honestly, like wins losses are kind of the end all be all. Anthony, I'll disagree with you on that point, but at the same time, like you're also right. I mean, I don't expect like a young team to win like 13, 14 games, So the thing is, it's like wins losses may not be the end all be all this year, but like in the next
Well,
couple of years they will be, right?
yeah, like
Um,
I'll rephrase it. Like wins losses are always the end all be all. We're all playing for the Super Bowl. That's all that matters. But only one team's going to get there, and the Giants are not likely to be that team. Although Mike may disagree, but like
Yep.
when we're evaluating this team, if we win 4 games at the end of the season, and and that's the same amount of games that we won last year, that doesn't mean we suck. It could mean that our team got better, but we just played harder opponents. That's basically what I'm trying to say. Like the wins may not tell the full story. They are the end all be all. All we want is to win games, but they may not tell the full story this season. And we might have to look deeper in order to evaluate the roster heading into 2021.
Hey, we did only lose a few games by like 7 or less points last year. We lost quite a bit of games, I should say. So maybe we're closer than people think. Who knows?
I think like this team, it is closer than a lot of people think. But you have to keep in mind is like that was Pat Shermer, and he just could not control the locker room,
Yeah,
which was an issue. And honestly, that's the silver lining in the Shermer era is that in 2019, like they only lost a couple games by like one or like one touchdown or like 10 points or something. That's a surprising thing given how bad Pat Shermer was at his job. But never hire an ex Browns coach. Never do that because it's a
That would make
mistake.
sense, right? That would make.
But like under Judge, I just feel like year one's gonna kind of be about like discipline because like these guys, listen, these coaches, they know the strengths and weaknesses of their players even right now. And Joe Judge's dog does as well, by the way. But the point is it's like what you will see on the field, like in training camp and the actual games, will give you an idea of like, and everything you hear too in the media, like Anthony's going to be reporting, is going to give you an idea of like, yo, who's really here in the long term and who's ready to make a difference in 2020.
Yeah. Go ahead, Mike.
I was just gonna say, like, everybody knows Joe Judge's dog's name, right?
Abby.
And who's Eli Manning's wife's name?
Abby.
Oh my God! Yo, that's a sign right there. Come on, that's a sign. That's a huge sign. We're going to the Super Bowl next year, no doubt. Like, let's all start betting all our money right now. Giants all the way, baby. Let's get it. He fucking named his dog after Eli Manning's wife. That's how much he loves the guy.
Oh my God, dude. Anyways,
I digress. Move on.
you're good, dude. Don't worry. We always have some random talk on here. But anyways, moving on though. So schedule release, we'll know it Thursday, and when it does come out, we'll kind of analyze like these are going to be the key games that you're gonna have to watch out for because we'll know when they're playing and how many primetime games. How much you want to bet, dude? Someone's gonna freaking be burning an Odell jersey like the day of that Odell game. I'm not even gonna lie, dude.
I mean, if we've got fans in the stadium, expect to see a lot of 13 in blue in that stadium. I mean, he's still a lot of these fans are still like really in love with Odell and really miss him. I'm still kind of one of those, but yeah, you won't see me rocking a 13 against the Browns. I'll probably have on a 10, an Eli or an 8 or a 26. But definitely not a 13. I think there's a lot better options to wear to that game.
I got my Odell jersey, man. That's in the closet, tucked away, man.
Yeah.
Listen, every Giant fan loved the guy. Let's all admit that. But we look back on the trade. It was a great trade for us. Turns out, and let's face it, Odell was just hurt a lot. He was hurt too much. Like the best part of being a player in the NFL is you're on the field all the time. And to be honest, Odell wasn't. When he is, he's fantastic. But he's got to play 16 games a year, and he hasn't done that.
Well, and he had a down year because Baker Mayfield was his quarterback, and you could straight up just tell in 2019 that he did not want to be in Cleveland. I feel like what it was with Odell, right, is he kind of like forced his way out, and then he ends up in Cleveland, and there's all the talk of like, well, I'm with Jarvis Landry now, and my buddy from LSU, my good like childhood friend, we're gonna light the world on fire, and they absolutely sucked. Yeah, so
he says every year, he's like, "Oh, this is going to be the best season I'm going to ever have." He says that every year. Like, I mean, when's it going to be, man? Like,
that's right.
I know he's the boy who cried wolf.
Man, what's his name?
Bleacher Report's fault. I don't know why Bleacher Report keeps doing that. They keep just like every year, it's like a scheduled tweet for them. And it's always Bleacher Report. It's not like it comes from ESPN or like the Browns.com. It's Bleacher Report every year. I think they have some sort of business partnership with Odell. So I think every year, just to get their hype going on Odell, they're like, this is my year. And then they type it up and they're like, Odell said this. And then we all talk about it. It's every year, but it's always Bleacher Report. And I'm like, why? Why are they doing this?
Right. Yeah, and Odell's like, yo, Bleacher Report, yo, put it out again.
It's go time. Oh, that. Yeah, they already know what he's talking about.
Get the fans all riled up again.
Speaking of winning year in and year out, we all know you guys have been watching The Last Dance. I'm a Bulls fan, so I've been watching it too. Mike gave me a big death glare right there from my inside MetLife Stadium. And I'll be honest, dude, I've been really impressed with the documentary. And I will say this, like, yeah, NFL films and whatnot is great. But I don't think, like, if you were to make a documentary, let's just say, like, they made a documentary of, like, and obviously the NFL has these, but they've never been, like, as good as The Last Dance. I mean, if you were to go with a documentary of, like, Khalil Mack or Aaron Donald's last season, or, like, maybe in 15 years, I don't know, Daniel Jones last season with the Giants, I do not think it would be this good, dude, because they got insight on that documentary from, like, everybody from, like, MJ and his teammates to his parents to, like, the bad boys, the Pistons.
It's amazing to watch. Like, I grew up, like, diehard Knicks fan. I hated Jordan. I hated that guy with a passion because every time he get the ball, like he was gonna make the shot or he was gonna fucking dunk on us. He was gonna win the game. And just watching the documentary, like now, like I'm thinking, like Jesus Christ, the Knicks never even had a fucking chance. Like this dude just fucking went out like with that mentality to just fucking kill people. I mean, my man retired for 18 months because he got bored. He got bored of winning every single fucking time. I mean, the comparison between like Jordan and LeBron. I'm like, let's make no mistake about it. Like Jordan, like he's like way beyond LeBron. There's no comparison. Jordan was just unstoppable, man. And that's at the time when teams were hand checking. I mean, you see the physicality of this play. People were getting fucking clothesline, punches thrown, beat up. Like that when that basketball. Oh my god, that era was so fun to watch. Like growing up as a kid watching that shit. Like I love John Starks. He was my idol, but I realized like now that I'm older, I'm like we had absolutely no shot of beating this guy. No chance. It's just what a great documentary, man. Really, really great. But I still fucking hate the guy.
Yeah, I love the documentary. It's been so fun to watch, and obviously I didn't grow up watching Jordan. I'm only 18, but I did have this like weird phase when I was like 12 years old. I had this like huge love for Michael Jordan. I just like so I know all these stories. Obviously, I never, but it's almost like it's my second go around of this because when I was 12. I started getting into basketball, and I just was like the biggest Jordan fan for no reason. Like, I never watched him play, but I defend him like through it all, and it was super weird. But I love Jordan. I love watching him play, and I got to bring up this point because you brought up LeBron, and I didn't really want to bring up LeBron because it's so annoying to hear these debates. But I always hear this one argument: Jordan played against plumbers, right? They always say he played against accountants and all that dumb shit. Jordan came out of retirement at 40 years old to play for the Wizards for 2 years. He was 38, and he ended up being 40 when he retired his final time. He dropped 43 points at the age of 40. That wasn't against plumbers. That was against some dogs, dude. That was in 2001, 2000, like that era. Like there were some beastly players in the league that LeBron is still going up against today. So what is with this plumber argument? It doesn't make any sense to me. Like
Bro,
43
that was
at the age of 40.
that was when like that. Okay, that was the early like 2000s. So that was like when the Spurs and Lakers were pretty much just running the league. That's when that was,
Exactly.
But like,
Yeah.
dude,
Good league.
Yeah.
I mean, like I've mentioned this a million times on this pod. I grew up in the New York area, the New York, New Jersey area. So obviously, like my dad, he grew up a Knicks fan too, and like he's not watching the documentary because he's like, "Yo, I hate this dude." But every time Jordan comes up, he's like, "Oh yeah, Jordan's a coward, and that he's like he." Was overrated, and that Hakeem Olajuwon was like even better than him. Now I like Patrick Ewing, dude. Obviously, just watching the highlights and whatnot. But like you could tell after that 93 Eastern Conference Finals, like the Knicks go up 2-0. And after that, he just went like he was, if you think of it, dude, he was beast mode. Jordan was beast mode and Mamba mentality. Like before beast mode and Mamba mentality, if we're being serious.
Dude, we're up 2-0. I was like, oh my god, we're gonna win this shit. I was so happy. We're gonna beat the fucking Jordan. We're gonna beat the Bulls. It was such an intense robbery, and then like, God, man, he just like stepped up. It was just you just couldn't beat the guy, man. There was nobody like him. Nobody like him. I don't understand people's like perception of him, like saying he's not like in Kobe's class or he's not in like you know what I mean? Like I mean you're just looking at like nowadays. You gotta look at the past, like he was playing legit teams, man. He was just killing everybody. God,
Well, we saw Kobe at the beginning of this documentary, and even Kobe straight up admitted, like, oh, this was I think like Jordan's last run at the Madison Square Garden for the All Star game, and like Kobe straight up said, like, look, I would not have my 5 championships, and rest in peace to Kobe, by the way, but Kobe was like, I would not have my 5 without number 23. So you look at this guy and you realize like he was a good basketball player. He was a good mentor too. But the dude is the reason that the NBA and basketball is like as popular as it is today.
that's why he owns a team. You know what I mean? The popularity, the money he brought in. I mean, everybody wanted to be like Mike. These commercials, these Gatorade. Like it's dude. Nobody beats Jordan, man. Nobody.
The team that he owns is a whole nother discussion, though, because I have a friend who's from Carolina who absolutely like hates Michael Jordan for the way that he's run the Hornets. But that's like that has nothing to do with how great of a player he was. And I don't know, he's just so fun to watch. Like I've never seen somebody have such hang time, just float in the air. They showed that one clip and where he goes up and he clutches it this way, then that way, then that way, then scores it. It's like I don't know, man. Like I know that there's been players who've done that, but nobody's had such a complete game where they were the best defender in the league and the best scorer in the league, like and one of the best passers. Like he could pass the ball. Like he was just all around amazing. And I really just wish that I was able to grow up and watch him. But like live now, I'm just watching all the old reruns and this awesome documentary. But it just makes me a little jealous. Like I really wish that I could have. And same thing with Lawrence Taylor. I wish I could have grown up watching him play. But I do get to go back and rewatch all this stuff, and it's really awesome for me.
I can't even do that Jordan move with a Nerf ball. You know what I mean? My man just like, yeah, fuck it. I always look at that clip and I'm like, yo, he could have dunked it. But then he was just fucking with everybody. He's like, I'm just going to like I'm dunking, and then I'm just going to scoop and go to my left. Like, I'm like,
Yeah.
fuck, man.
Well, his, like, dude, he was. Did you guys see the part about the shoe deal? And he was like, "Nah, I'm not gonna
Yeah.
sign with Adidas,"
Yeah.
and then that's how like Air Jordan was born.
That's crazy.
That is,
We could be wearing Converse sneakers right now if he decided to sign with Converse.
I mean, I had a piece of Converse. Yeah, dude, I had a pair of Converse. I want to say 7th or 8th grade, and that's the only time Converse were cool though was in middle school. After high school, they just like got super boring.
Dude, you're right, man. Fucking wild, man.
This also explains now why like Dr. J. Julius Irving, who played for like the Sixers, I think, why he had like the shoe deal with Converse as well. Because I found out I did not know that before, that Converse was like the official shoe of the NBA.
Dude, Jordan had options, man. Like, can you imagine? He really wanted to sign with Adidas, and then like his parents made him go sit with the meeting for Nike. I'm like, thank God for that, man. Like he had good direction. Like if you look at Jordan, like he's kind of like he relies on like other people, like his parents, like Phil Jackson, etc. Because that dude just like he don't give a fuck about anything else. He gives a fuck about himself. He's like, I'm just gonna gamble. I'm gonna go play golf for $1 million. I'm gonna play these guys. Like he don't care. He's straight up like, Jordan. He keeps it real. I respect that. He's not sugarcoating anything. He's like, oh, should I like vote for this guy? Or he's like, nah. It's like I don't care. Like I just love that attitude, man.
Did you I think this was episode 6 where they brought up like his thing of like, well, he was just competing against people and gambling and whatnot, and then straight up the reporter like, so this dude's like 50 or 60 years old now, and straight up just asked like, so do you want to bet that I can't like give up gambling or whatever it was? Like even at friggin' 60 years old, he's like, oh yeah, we're gonna go ahead and have a little friendly competition. Let's do this.
Well, the thing with the whole gambling thing, I think that ESPN didn't want to paint Jordan in a bad light, and they went easy on him. And I think Michael, the things that he was saying were like the cliche things that a gambling addict would say. I can stop gambling whenever I want. I just don't want to stop. Like, okay, that's because you have an addiction. That's like the cliche line to use. And he said it twice. I was like, you probably do have a little problem, but who cares? You're worth $1 billion, Like, you're not going to go broke from gambling on the golf course. What's that?
I said that 1,000,000 times every Sunday after like the Sunday night game comes along, and then I make my money back from all the fucking money I'm down. They're like, all right, I'll be back next week. You know how many times I was gonna stop gambling? Oh, dude, that's why I love Jordan. I love Jordan right now. I love the guy. Like,
Yeah,
God.
he's awesome. Yeah, he's awesome, man.
Yeah, dude, the whole, and Anthony brought this up earlier. So I was at a Bulls game back in January, and obviously, like, I was sitting with a whole bunch of, so it was me and a friend, we were sitting around a bunch of whole stupid high school kids. So naturally, to these kids, like, they grew up on, like, LeBron, and so what happened is AJ, my friend, goes and he's like, yo, like, whatever you think, because they show Jordan up on screen for some reason. They still do that in Bulls games. So AJ goes and he's like, oh, yeah, Jordan's the greatest ever. Don't listen to what anyone says. Like, screw LeBron. And all these kids turned around and looked at us like we were crazy. And I'm like, no, you guys are joking, because even if you go and you watch all the reruns, like, the dude was in a class of his own.
Without a doubt, man.
I don't even talk basketball with kids my age. I can't do it.
Yeah, because they don't know great, dude. To these kids right now, like, it's the same thing, I'm not even gonna lie to some of these kids right now that are like whatever 19. I mean, and this isn't taking shots at Anthony because he's the youngest person on this podcast, but
Me
like
too.
I got into the argument with the one dude on Twitter, right, who was like, "Oh, Luke Kuechly, like there wasn't a significant drop off between him and Brian Urlacher and like Ray Lewis," and I'm like, "What are you saying?" Because like Urlacher and Ray Lewis were in a class of their own. Like even Bobby Wagner, dude, I will not accept as like being in that tier. I felt like we're talking linebackers, right? Same thing with like Michael Strahan and these guys. Like you have outside linebackers like Khalil Mack who stand up and play, and then like obviously the pass rushers, like the defensive ends. Like there's no more like Jason Taylors or like Michael Strahans or those guys, and these guys like J.J. Watt. I mean, there's very few of them. But back in the day, there was like a multitude of good players at every position in the NFL.
That's a good thing about sports. You can have these debates that go on and on about like, all right, who's better? Why did we waste a draft pick on so and so? Could have had him. It just goes back and forth, and it just never ends. There's no conclusion, and then it just and if you're really a nut job and you believe it so much, you could get real nasty on fucking Twitter, man. I tell you, I
Yeah.
see these
Yeah.
timelines. Like, I'm like, it's not that serious, guys. Like, just relax, man. I understand, like, people have points or whatever, but like, yeah, people need to chill.
But people aren't gonna chill, dude. Yeah, it's just how it goes, dude. It's like the whole argument of, well, should Eli be in the Hall of Fame? And when you
Oh,
ask the people that say no,
yeah, I go that shit. Like, if people say Eli don't deserve to go to the whole time, I go fucking insane. That's when my rage comes out on Twitter. I'm like, yo, fucking go kill. I'm like, meet me in fucking my neighborhood. Like, yeah, it's fucking crazy, man. Like, Eli don't deserve to be Hall of Fame. Are you kidding me? Oh, don't get me started, man.
Let's not get into that one. That would get me pissed too.
do I get the reason I get annoyed is because like people will be like, oh well, the criteria to get into Hall of Fame is like your awards and your Super Bowl rings and whatnot. If you're gonna throw some of these guys in there that have never won a Super Bowl into the Hall of Fame, you can throw a guy that's won two. And in this generation, like the reason Eli gets so looked down upon is because of guys like Drew Brees and Aaron Rodgers and Brett Favre. They only got like one, right? Eli's got two. That's the end of like that's my 2 cents on this whole thing.
Yeah, people look at it. They look at the fantasy, football aspect of these guys. Oh, they do 40 touchdowns. They deserve to be in Hall of Fame. But a quarterback could throw 40 touchdowns if their team is always fucking down. Like during the year, of course they're gonna throw the ball a lot more. Not
What like the Chiefs got to do with Pat Mahomes, dude? Because the Chiefs do that so much with Pat Mahomes. I'm not even gonna lie.
Yeah, it's true.
I don't know. I don't know where you're going with that, Hussein. But
I'm just saying that. Look,
Mahomes is goated.
Yeah, Anthony's gonna do this when Danny Jones is playing next year too, or in 2020, when Danny Jones is like throwing touchdowns. The Chiefs do it in 2019. I mean, they did one of two things, which was they either rack the score up on you, or they would have to play from behind, and then rely on Mahomes to
What's back. Was throwing fucking touchdowns like left and right because he was always down. Sure, he was really good at it. All right, I'll stop.
Yeah. Let's digress.
All right. Anyways, we're gonna get out of here, guys. We'll be back next Tuesday with another episode. Probably preview just the roster in general, the 90-man roster, some things to watch out for, and then obviously the actual released 2020 schedule. But for now, follow me on Twitter at Usaid Kosho. Follow Anthony on Twitter at Anthony_Rivardo. Follow Mike on Twitter at MikeTrainerMFT. If I ever get around to getting you guys those pizzas between now and the next episode, I will do so.
Let's get it.
Yeah,
we'll eat them on the pod.
Overnight that shit.
Yeah, but for now we're gonna get out of here, guys. Thanks for listening. We'll be back next week. See you.